not sure if Craig has like a. Oh, here we go.
Hey everyone, my name's Keenan. Welcome to the November 18th, 2021 weekly DXdao community call. We've got some fun topics to discuss today, including the November 25 swapper emissions, staking ETH treasury funds, and a brand new DXdao.eth refresh. But before we get into that, we have a special guest today from the folks at Atlantis World. Rev is here. Atlantis World's a social metaverse looking to connect DAOs, and I'd like to invite you to speak now. You should have access to screen sharing, so take us away.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thanks for having me. It's really a pleasure to share our vision and mission of building community-driven community on metaverse and actually having DXdao to help us achieve that. It's really exciting. So before I share my screen, I would love to just take a moment and describe what Atlantis is. So we're building 2D pixel social Web3 metaverse. And what does it mean? We're intentionally going into 2D road, like 2D pixel, to make it lightweight, accessible. So, even people with, not that strong laptop or hardware or PC, right, can access it, because we believe in like making tech accessible. And we also, we actually do love, current metaverses. They're doing great, but we feel like unintentionally that they're setting the bar of entry really high because of this, 3D immersive experience. Which, again, nothing wrong with that. It's just for like realistically speaking, right, on a global accessibility level, it's not there yet, right? And especially if we have in mind, people who actually need the crypto most usually are the ones who don't have access to crypto, right? Like if we speak about people, in like developing countries, etc., we all know that. So that's first thing. The second thing is social layer, as we do believe, like our core communication, like audio, video, text, chat, is really crucial. So we are like integrating and building all of that within Atlantis. And on top of that, which comes, the most exciting part of that, which is Web3 element, right? We gamify whole Web3. Imagine, DeFi, DAO, NFTs, like every culture, finance, everything that, community side, everything that makes Web3, we want to like connect every great players all together and really create a buzzing entrepreneurial world where ETH is money and culture is king. But of course, it won't be just about ETH. There will be, multi-chains. There'll be other islands of blockchain nations that we're also exploring now. But let me, for now, show you my screen. Just a moment, sharing my screen. Let me know if you can see my screen.
Yeah, I see it. For anyone that is new, we don't often use normal channels. You'll have to opt into this stream by clicking on Rev's profile, the live tab in the Campfire channel.
Yeah. So I have like this, note, please use Chrome browser. I don't like Chrome browser, so I'm not using it. This is a login screen. So this is like a simple version of our demo. In fact, we stopped building and fixing bugs in our demo. So if you will see anything, sorry for that. As we fully moved into alpha version that we're planning like internally to ship by the end of the year. Externally, we say Q1 next year. And so here you see, login with MetaMask, login with Wallet Connect, and also Unstoppable Domains. We actually partner with them. Behind the scenes, we also, like integrating ENS domains. So that will be also cool. And I also saw your, post about ENS domains. It's really exciting. So I'm already connected with login, with MetaMask. So it won't ask me to sign. So here we see, DAO building, we see DEX building. The idea here, this is just a city for CryptoPunks, right? If you have a CryptoPunk, you'll be able to use your CryptoPunk as in Metaverse character. Same with other collections down the line. So inside of DAO, behind the scenes, right now we're exploring integrating, Snapshot, Aragon, DAOs, all of this DAO tooling, like the main ones to start with. So the DEX building, probably some of you already seen, us partnering with players like 1inch. There's also other, like collaborations happening behind the scenes. Okay, that's coming in like that building. I'll show you how it looks. So here's our code building. We're planning to integrate, mini games, big games, all sorts of games, including, Web3 games, as we actually do not see anyone literally in the space as competitors. we want to, again, come down to our core value of collaboration versus competing with others. And even in fact, that's how we started whole Atlantis. That was 2 projects, separate projects, and then we kind of iterated them into one, like much bigger and better. We also have already chat functionality. So we have 3 types of chat, like public chat. Let me just GM here. We have DM. If anyone of you will, jump into the demo, I'll be able to DM you. And we also have spatial chat. As you see here, there's like table 3. If you go to like this table, there'll be like table 2. So the use case here is, if we sit on the same table, we'll be able to speak with the people who sit, on that table. Same with audio, video. So imagine like you have, for example, a co-working space. Could be, token gated, even like meeting room, whatever, and you can have all of that there. Even like just a scene, or like a room for events. There's a lot of use cases. We also integrated audios, which are really low and it's like pretty dope. So you can listen to music while you play, inside the metaverse. This is our second integration. Within like third integration will allow users to actually log in inside of their in their account and actually play the playlist they want. Here's like simple implementation of our crypto prices dashboard powered by CoinGecko. We're also friends with them. In the future, we'll build the city for them, but later on. So that's also exciting. Sorry for some shitcoins here. We need to fix that. In fact, we already have plans to do that. So here's the exciting part. Probably someone logging in here. There is a bug here. Sometimes, it shows like just random person here. We fixed that already in alpha version. As I said, we stopped fixing bugs here. So if you go inside of the central bank building, we see Aave, Yearn, and Balancer. And this is actually on 2 different chains. So Aave right now we have on, Matic, like on Polygon. It works. You can also view it on Rarible. Oh, sorry, on Aave, just to show that it works. It will take some time if I want to deposit, but if anyone, if you wants to check it out. Oh, I see Mazi here. Hey. We can also check, for example, Balancer. Of course, this is like a simple integration, right? This is like just a dashboard. Our goal not to create a dashboard, and also, obviously we will work on like better UI UX, and already doing that for alpha version. But the idea is, this is step number 0, literally. The next step, here's like the next step is to actually build a space. For example, like this one. Let's go inside of Rarible Gallery. We actually won hackathons for that. One Rarible hackathon. We actually also won like best DeFi app built on Polygon. We also won prizes from Audios and Aave on different hackathons. So here's like a museum powered by Rarible protocol. We see some collections here, like cool cats, some mutants. The idea is you can actually not just enjoy the artwork, but you can also buy it from your MetaMask by clicking, or like by clicking buy button, or you can view it in Rarible. Again, this is just a simple use case, right? The idea here is to showcase, oh, hi Vitalik, nice. The idea here is just to showcase some of possibilities that could be built inside of Atlantis and how that actually gamification could work of Web3 building blocks. So yeah, sorry, my dog is going crazy. So yeah, if anyone has any questions, I would love to answer them.
Yeah, absolutely. We have some questions are often left with me when I organize the call. So I do have a couple backup, but anyone here is welcome to either unmute and speak up or type in the chat now. I'll start with a question that I actually have. How is instancing going to work? Like, is there going to be one server and everyone will be in one server? If Atlantis is successful, wouldn't that cause crowding and maybe even the goal of having it accessible to lower end machines? Wouldn't that be minimized by crowding?
Yeah, that's a great question. In fact, we're constantly, researching that, because even though, right now like even everything that you saw in demo actually is like every asset, right? All these buildings are tokenized on Polygon, stored on IPFS and loaded from IPFS. We just use Netlify for front end, and obviously we're centralized, right? And we don't want to be centralized in long term, right? We actually even exploring having Atlantis at some point, run like decentrally, like multiple, like imagine like people becoming nodes and actually storing whole Atlantis and running from their PC, laptop, whatever, and actually making Atlantis unstoppable versus having Atlantis on even 2 or 3 servers. But for the sake of keeping it simple for now, right? Because decentralization doesn't happen like instantly. We are working on scalability side of that, at least for the alpha version, and we expect we right now we have 5.5K early access signups for the alpha version. Also having in mind our current partners and their social outreach of almost like 2.5 million users. We expect 15 to 20K at least people like load on server on alpha, so we will handle that. And then our technical team looks into that, and we actually exploring also onboarding some professionals in that side to help us. But yeah, that's to start with.
Excellent, thank you. A question that was left with me here, and I think you did kind of address this, but just for programming, is your character manually created, or do I need a punk?
Yeah, great question. So, this is just a demo, right? A CryptoPunk City, because we just wanted to give back in a way that CryptoPunks started this culture, right? The NFT side. Of course, not just them, but we decided to build that demo as a CryptoPunk City to just to share another use case, because we feel like, especially for NFTs, right? Most of NFTs is just PVPs. And it's a bit sad because it shouldn't be like that, right? There should be more use cases, because if you use your PVP as your actually, persona, your profile, your identity, right? Why not to use that identity inside of Metaverse? And that's why we thought about, how could it be if you could use actually your CryptoPunk inside of Metaverse, right? And also, like, you can verify that because you can have it token gated, right? So only like CryptoPunks can walk inside of that city, but it doesn't mean like you cannot be inside of Atlantis if you don't have CryptoPunk. There will be like tons of others, profile pictures, NFT collections, and yeah, like our goal is to make Atlantis free to play, free to engage. We don't want to set any like barriers to entry, and we think that's a healthy way to grow and move forward.
Excellent, thank you. There's 2 more questions left with me here, hopefully quicker ones. But what would the process look like to integrate DXdao products to Atlantis?
Yeah. So, as I also spoke with some of the folks from DXdao, I also met a lot of them in person, in Lisbon. First of all, we will start simply, right, by integrating some of the products that you actually would love to prioritize by core contributors and community, because our collaboration consists of 2 sides, right? Like technical side, actually integration of the products itself, and then community side. And the community side could be a lot of things, right? For example, building DXdao City, then building actually a building in, say, like clubhouses of DXdao, and populating them inside of let's say like locating that building or that clubhouse inside of Atlantis City itself. So imagine you'll have your own city that might be token gated or not, and then you can have your clubhouse, and then we can later on also work on like some educational learning models. So for example, let's say we integrated Swapper or other products from DXdao, and then we can create learning models around that with quests, RPG, MMORPG like quests. We call them learn to earn. So imagine, okay, you went inside of Web3 Academy that we'll build. You learned basics of blockchain, then Ethereum, Bitcoin, maybe some other chains, etc. And then you actually come and you are incentivized to learn about DXdao. and let's say you have your theory, right? You went, you learn, everything's great, but then like, what does it actually mean if you don't use the product, right? So then you actually have this critical component of practical side. Okay, so here's your task: go to DXdao city, do X, Y, Z, and then you actually interact with the product. And before that, you either, let's say, earn like DXdao tokens, or even if it's not incentivized, let's say by you, we still will reward users, in terms of, reputation system or some in-metaverse perks. So they're always incentivized to learn. And beyond that, we also plan to have, let's say, a week of product. Let's say this week is like DXdao, the next week is Aave, and same with chains. So for us, the critical part is, yes, there is integration, and relatively we can ship it fast because we anyway, going to be like multi-chain. We're also exploring layer 2s, and in fact, we already have like 2 chains, and yeah, and we behind the scenes, we're also in touch with some other folks like Polkadot, Harmony, Near, Solana, etc., because we want to be neutral and actually enable network effects by onboarding all the best partners. So imagine like DXdao benefiting even from folks from Near, from Polkadot, from Solana, because all of them will be incentivized and rewarded for learning and using DXdao. And that's the whole point.
Yeah, that is super, super exciting. And a comment from Ross is that it would be an awesome way of handing out tiny amounts of rep, our non-transferable voting power, as we kind of translate into governance 2.0. On-ramps to rep become more important. And I definitely agree with that. I have one more question here, actually by me. It'd be good if you could lay out kind of how people can get involved with Atlantis, when they can use it, where they need to go, just as we kind of close up here.
Oh, sure. I could share, website link or Discord link. So right now we're fully focused on to, building the alpha version. As I said, we're planning to ship it by the end of the year, ideally Christmas time, if not Q1 or early next year. If we actually also launched just recently our community program for any contributor that wants to, provide some value and help us, build that Atlantis, community on metaverse together. It's not just Atlantis, right? And one critical thing I forgot to mention, which is actually critical, right? When we say community on, it's not just, buzzword. If we build something for DXdao, that will be eventually owned by DXdao community. And what we mean by that is, imagine the whole city itself and each, asset within that city tokenized. We can come up with a chain that you want to tokenize in. That's like secondary question. But the idea is it will be tokenized and then airdropped to you. So you'll be able to actually own it. Your community, your multisig, within your treasury. And that's exciting because that will not be owned by Atlantis, but owned by you. And also, in fact, we're exploring, building like in the future SDKs and ways for developers to actually build and integrate what they want to see inside of Atlantis once there is, consensus achieved with community. Community supports that.
Excellent. And we do have one more question in the chat. Why would someone do learning modules in the metaverse versus just reading Medium articles, etc., for gamification? ?
Yeah, that's a great question. First of all, I would say everyone has their unique, learning kind of style. And I know that because I've been, I speak like 6 languages, and English is my actually 5th language. So I know that I've been, researching and studying a lot this topic. So, we're all different, but the idea is, even like apart from that, right? If we take just the gaming industry in general, it's like 3.4 billion user industry, which is incredible. It's literally almost half of the population on Earth. And it feels like, a lot of people don't understand how powerful that is. And just if you, read like recent news of all, funds that have been deployed from Web 2 and Web 3 to actually blockchain games, it's like incredible because people understand the power of that, right? And recently what we saw with Axie Infinities, who are actually our friends, we even exploring, integrated Axis and in metaverse paths, but that's down the line. This is just a start, right? And this whole, play to earn, learn to earn is in its inception. So going back to the question, why would someone do that? First, that's exciting, that's fun. Second is it's happening in the place where you already interact with your peers. Imagine like if Discord would actually give you, like crypto for you having, doing something meaningful on Discord, you'd still, you might actually try that because you still anyway spend time on Discord, right? And especially if that's something meaningful and that product actually adds value to your life. The third thing is, because even though, right, we start with crypto natives, right, we onboard all the best players and their communities and actually enable network effects for everyone. But our main goal, our mission is to onboard the next billion users into crypto through super easy, seamless, gamified, fun, sustainable, learning models. And these learning models, right, part of them, they're kind of, like in a way like articles, with some quizzes and all of this best practices on the theory side, right? But you don't just learn by theory, right? Most of us learn better and actually memorize better when we do practical side. And that's where actually, the real value of Atlantis comes from, because sorry for that. When you actually, practice your skills, and when you don't just read about, what is DXdao or what is, XYZ product, but actually go there and, test out that. And we also, exploring building maybe test version of, even like a dashboard where you don't even need to, maybe sacrifice your hard-earned money if you're like skeptical about crypto and all of that. Or we even explore, having some scholarships or even incentivized programs to airdrop some amount to people so they can try out the product, to that extent, because we actually care about that. And yeah, we really bet big on that. The idea of, that your learning could be fun, it could be really social, and it could actually give back to you and reward you for that, which most of, like Web2 companies would never do.
Excellent. Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Rev. I'm not sure if you want to give any closing thoughts here, but very, very happy to have you on board and excited for Atlantis for sure.
Yeah, really grateful for, for having me. Thank you so much for everyone's time today. If you have any questions, suggestions, please feel free to reach out DM or on our Discord, Telegram, whatever channel you would love to. Yeah, thank you.
Of course, thank you, Rev. And it'd be great if you could drop some links to Atlantis in the Campfire Text channel for the others here. Excellent. Thank you again. Let's move on here to our next topic. And Rev, feel free to stick around or not. We're just going through the rest of our agenda now. We'll chat a bit about the November 25th swapper emissions. Is the Campfire part of the metaverse? Nice. We'll go a bit over the November 25th swapper emission discussion. We were supposed to have a forum post up. I do have the screenshots though. Starting with, yeah, thank you, Rev. Just going to give a moment for chatter to clear up here.
Yeah, by the way, one idea that came to my mind, I probably should have, outlined that. But, that kind of meeting, right, like DXdao weekly meeting, you would be able to have inside of Atlantis, and even more. It's not just about social experience, right? Because you also DAO, you do a lot of governance. This is actually a critical part for us to gamify, because you probably also, notice that like governance, and especially hybrid, participation rate of governance, it's really pain in the ass for a lot of folks in the space. And we know that because, we spoke with a lot of them, even like big players like DYDX, we're also exploring that with them. Imagine if you can actually get some perks for being active in governance in the DAO side, right? What we were thinking with like 1inch, imagine, okay, you're actually active, in 1inch governance in DAO. And because of that, you get to fly around, 1inch unicorn inside of their city, or some like crazy stuff within the metaverse that actually gives you some called perks or reputation system. And that's just to explore.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Making kind of remote meetings slightly more in person definitely is something we're interested in. Actually, before we move on, we do have one more question in the chat. Zoram is asking if Atlantis will have its own subscription-based model or will it be entirely free to play?
Oh, sorry, I lost your last question. Can you please?
Yeah, of course. Zorham in the chat is asking if Atlantis will have its own subscription-based model or will it be entirely free to play?
Yeah, we thought about that. As I said, we don't want to create any barriers to entry. It's really in core of our mission. Yeah, so it will be forever free. It just, let's say there could be use cases where, for example, you have your own space and you create token gated access for that, and for your audience to get access to that, you will be you will need to buy their token, for example, right? So that doesn't mean that we ask you to buy that. It's like your own choice. So for us, what critical is to build a layer where everyone can collaborate, have meaningful interaction, social like element to that, with intersection of Web3 education and true culture spirit. And then we want to give freedom to the users as much as possible so they can actually build a lot of stuff and be able to monetize it, be able to be seen, and supported by the community.
Excellent. Yeah, thank you again for your time, Rev. Much appreciated, and obviously super excited for Atlantis here and kind of how we can continue to integrate with you guys. I'll be following it personally a bit more closely now for sure.
Yeah, appreciate it. I will not take more of your time. Thank you so much, everyone. Really, really super appreciate your questions, great questions, attention, and care. It means a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Rev. Take care. Excellent, guys. So let's chat swapper emissions. There's a forum thread going up shortly after this call, maybe even during the call, but we'll do a quick recap of the proposed changes for the next epoch. As you may or may not know, we go through the fundamentals before going to Arbitrum XI mainnet in that order in the forum. For this epoch, which is epoch 6 for Arbitrum, epoch 4 for XI and mainnet, there's only one interesting change proposed, which you'll have to keep your eyes peeled for. I'm not sure I can speak to right now. But as far as Arbitrum goes, I'll drop the changes here in the chat. Primarily some minor changes. As you may or may not know, last period we did a fundamental change on our most successful Arbitrum pairs. Swapper against ETH, USDC against ETH, I believe Curve, DXD, and Link against ETH. Those 5 pairs were extended by 2 epochs, so their cadence was a bit extended. There will be no changes to those pairs since those campaigns are active still. But we did see a slight reduction to DAI against ETH, a slight increase to Link against ETH, slight reductions to Maker, and we, more importantly, moved our GNO pool from Arbitrum to DXdao. More on that shortly when we touch on DXdao, though. One of the more important things to note about Arbitrum is that since the last epoch and the Badger kind of collaboration went out, Badger has become one of our most successful pools on Arbitrum. Just trying to pull up the stats right now, but I believe our second biggest pair, and that is with a 4% swapper emission allocation. So we moved it around the allocations a bit, and we proposed moving a deeper amount into the Badger pool, including slightly less to the IBBTC pool. The ETH Badger pool is now 2.5 million, just fighting ETH DXD for the second place spot on Arbitrum. So some deeper incentives there, I think, are merited. And obviously this will be on the forum to discuss after this call. Moving to DxDao, which I do not have a photo for. Let me quickly grab that. Xdao will see some smaller changes all around, particularly focusing on the movement of GNO from Arbitrum to Xdao, and adversely changing some numbers around on the WETH against Wrap Bitcoin pool, which is continuing to do a little bit of underperformance. So some slight reduction there as well. Yeah, and Chris mentions IBBTC had a good volume day yesterday. I think a slight reduction is kind of the goal. Obviously, 6% is still massive, and that allocation was moved to Badger. So the partnership is obviously still intact, and that allocation was moved over. Obviously, if IBBTC continues to pick up, that allocation can either move back or even be added to, depending on the performance of the Badger pool. As for Xdao, yeah, I think if you're referring to DXstats, I think DXstats grabs, depending on the time of day, up until the hour of the day. So it's possible it's still early. I'd need to take a look, though. As for Xdao, we have WagMe. Xdao, we moved around some allocations. We did a slight reduction to stake and WBTC as well. And that made room for the GNO pool. As you may or may not know, we moved from 10 to 20% rewards on Xdao last epoch. So a pretty sizable reward increase. We're seeing, obviously, the TVL is remaining relatively flat, which is actually a good thing with the market dump that we saw. So yeah, some really minor changes there. More importantly, GNO. I believe this is an outdated screenshot, actually. GNO may be pitted against stake, interestingly, and as in line with the stake Xdao merger proposal. So something interesting to follow that should be in the form as well. As for Mainnet, no major changes there. Mainnet, as you may or may not know, we deployed 4 epochs at once, so we're going through the 4th and final epoch of that deployment this coming Thursday. So it'd be great to get some community discussion on what was successful, what needs to be changed there. Only 3 pools, Swapper against ETH, DXD against ETH, and DAI against ETH. But the allocation amounts are probably a deeper discussion and what we want to prioritize on Mainnet. And if we want to prioritize more or even less on Mainnet as well. So expect that to be in discussion as well today. Yeah, and I mean, there's going to be obviously a very interesting change planned for Epoch 4 of Xdao, but not much able to be said right now. Just keep your eyes peeled. Super, super exciting, and something you'll want to pay attention to if you're a longtime DXdao contributor, or community member, rather. Cool, that about wraps up Epoch 6 and Epoch 4 changes. I'm not sure if there was any questions. I didn't have any left with me. To see Chris typing in the chat there. Chris is curious, I'm assuming of the call here, if anyone thinks it's a good idea to incentivize GNO against stake or just GNO ETH. I'm not sure if anyone has any thoughts. Feel free to speak up on the stage here.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it earlier, and I just think that's like a really interesting thing, and we should be thinking about it because it could be a little gimmicky, but like it could be kind of interesting to do. So be curious if people, especially because people probably have both of those, maybe both those assets, and so would that be appealing to liquidity providers, or do they prefer the ETH pairing?
Not sure if there's any comments. I do see Luigi is here and often quite opinionated about stake. Curious if you have any thoughts.
Sorry, I was not paying attention.
We're chatting how there will be a GNO pool on Xdao. We're moving it from Arbitrum as a result of the discussions that have been going on with the Xdao merger. We are curious what the community thought about GNO being pitted against stake or GNO just be pitted against raw Xdao. Do you have an opinion there?
I don't think you should pull it against stake, because if it goes through, the pool will have to disappear. So it doesn't make sense. Yeah, I think you should pull against Xdao or Ethereum, I guess, or even DXdao, the DXdao token, something like that.
You say that the pool will disappear, but isn't that
I mean,
because stake would disappear? Wouldn't stake against XDAI, that pool, hypothetically disappear as well?
it won't disappear entirely, but if the idea is for stake to be consumed by the GNO, the liquidity pool is supposed to slowly decrease. So you are incentivizing a pool that is going to reduce in size in the future. But yeah, I don't know. It depends how they do the swapper contract, I guess. We have a meeting with them today at 8 p.m. UTC, and I assume some of you will be there as well.
Excellent. You said today, correct?
Yep, today.
Nice. Yeah, you make a good point. If we were to make a GNO against stake pool, obviously, you would expect that pool to eventually mitigate, provided the proposal goes through. Whereas if you had a GNO against XDAI pool, for example, that would already be established, and then the stake migration to GNO would have a pool already on XDAI. That's my personal opinion I shared internally. There is arguments either way, of course. So definitely we'll keep that in mind, and we'll be in the forum as a discussion topic. Cool. I think that's all from me from the swapper side of things. Maybe let's move on here to a discussion about staking ETH with treasury funds, featuring our very own Fluid Drop. If you're around, you want to take it away?
Sure. So just to give a quick overview, there's a proposal up in the forum, or rather than a proposal, I would say a discussion thread. I'll just post a link here in the Campfire text channel about staking some ETH with a couple of liquid staking options, namely Lido, Stakewise, and Rocket Pool. And it would be great to get some community feedback on that. So there are also 2 polls within that thread, so make sure to cast your vote and eventually leave any comments over there in the forum section. And I believe we'll talk about this as well next week on the governance call, given that we didn't get a chance to do that this week. And after that, we'll be probably moving, as it looks like now, there is a strong consensus to move forward with this. So then moving to a proposal state and actually passing this on Mainnet and then acquiring some staked ETH. So that's pretty much it. Make sure to check out the forum, drop some votes, drop some comments, and then we'll take it from there.
Excellent. Thank you, Dave. Wasn't sure. I do have one question here. I do believe you've answered a couple times, so maybe a redundancy. But they just asked, what's next for the treasury? I'm assuming referring to after staking ETH, and I guess that would be kind of pointed towards deploying capital and other kind of yield protocols.
Yeah, so I mean, so even the amounts we have right now in this proposal to stake ETH, I would say are not like extremely high. I think this is like a test thing to do. We've never really done any yielding assets, right? So this would be the first time we acquire some yielding assets. And after that, we also have another proposal actually live, which is kind of fall on the backbone a little bit given the price of Ether descending, which was a diversification at certain price triggers. But yeah, eventually, there could be more ETH that gets staked, or as well, I think maybe we could put some stable coins into some, secure yielding assets, even to just beat inflation, because inflation is not at its best in the current situation. So I think those are some options, and then of course, it'll all go through the forum. There'll be some forum polls, some discussion on this call, on the governance call, and then anything we will want to do would pass or be submitted as a proposal on chain, right? And then if it passes, it would be executed upon. But I think that's pretty much where we are right now.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Dave, for your time. One more thing I actually forgot to mention. Here we are. Regarding the swapper campaigns and missions, there will be a single-sided reward campaign snapshot vote being deployed, I believe, on Monday. So if you're a swapper token holder, it would be great to get you involved in that snapshot and voting on whether or not you think the swapper single-sided token campaigns are good in their present state. There'll be a bit more info for that on the weekend and or on Monday when the campaign launches. So just keep your eyes peeled to the swapper announcements channel. You can keep an eye in this thread as well on DAO Talk. Cool. And then one final topic, which is the new DXdao.eth landing page, which I will bring the thread up for now. So if you didn't see already, DXdao.eth, our decentralized ENS-hosted landing page, has been deployed with a brand new coat of paint, as I've called it. Basically, a complete visual overhaul. We started with very functional yet very plain text landing page, informational. So we've given it a bit of a branding and visual update, which you can see now. I'll drop the link in chat if you don't have it accessible. But I will also, just for the fun of it, be sharing my screen and we can kind of go over it together. A bit of a celebration, I suppose, although the thread kind of served as that celebration. If it will let me. Here we are. Let me know if you're able to see my screen. Again, you'll have to opt in manually to see it. If you've already seen the new landing page, maybe there's not much for you to see here. No need to opt in, but we'll be just discussing a bit about it and kind of showing off the new landing page. Excellent. Yeah, so here we are. I'm going to give it a refresh. It is animated. Just so you can see. We kind of have our blurb, lots of social information. Importantly, we have a kind of TVL tracker. This currently only tracks Swapper on Arbitrum, Mainnet, and DXdao. In the future, though, this will obviously include all DXdot products with any deployable TVL capital. And this we're planning to make dynamic as well. We kind of forced or pushed forward with a initial kind of landing page. There's a lot of things that we want to add and change even yet, despite the good reception, of course. So lots of interesting and exciting things to look forward to changing. One of the most interesting aspects that I actually have some questions left with me about is the Dxdot Products area now has 3 products you may or may not have heard of. Not much to comment yet, but super, super exciting stuff. The Learn More tab will function soon. It points to DXdocs, which needs an ENS update, hopefully in the next couple of days. So yeah, get excited for that, obviously. Really great to see these finally live and accessible, and really excited to share more soon. Here we have some more information, basically explanatory text, and the more important thing is that everything will cross-reference now to DXdocs, which is our decentralized documentation source, which is live today on dxdocs.eth. This, again, hosted on our ENS in a decentralized way through IPFS. So only the DAO has access to making changes to the site. If you trust the DAO, then you mitigate the intermediary risk and basically trust the DAO on this. So if you haven't seen this as well, obviously use DXdocs. It's very useful. Contributors are already using it and sharing it. But now that it is cross-referenced, you'll be able to find, for example, any information on our governance, learning more about our products, DXdao in general, our FAQ. All of this will redirect automatically to DXdocs, so you'll be able to find the information much easier now. Cool, and then obviously lots of information, some nice graphics. Our partners, which is obviously great to finally see aggregated in one place, and some nice CTAs to visit us on Discord, Keybase, DAO Talk, depending on what you want to do. If you're a community member, if you want to contribute, if you're a builder and want to, to work with DXdao, their DX Ventures, etc. Lots to see and learn here on this new page. And of course, we do also have a vision section that is a lot more informational as well, including a deeper dive into kind of what we do in the history of DXdao, including some FAQ. So again, highly recommend giving it a check out if you want to learn more. Even as a seasoned DXdao community member, there's lots to learn here through the new landing page and DX docs. So highly recommend stepping in and checking it out. I do have a couple of questions left with me, but if there's any comments or questions, I do see some praise in the chat here. Anyone's welcome, of course, to speak up on the mic as well. Just let me know. Going to end the stream here, but answer a couple of questions. Cool. Actually, I have a question here. What are the two hidden pages at the bottom of the article? If you haven't seen the article, it's also on DAO Talk here, which you can find here. I will not say what they are. It ruins the surprise. But for anyone that has or hasn't seen it yet, there is a bit of a teaser at the bottom of the explanatory article, talking a bit about the future of our landing page efforts and kind of branding and design. So there's a blurred photo of two DXdao protocols, and very interesting. Not much more I can comment on, but see if you can identify what these may or may not be. And DXgov, I think, is definitely a loaded topic, and I'm not sure exactly what we would like.
Yeah, sure. What product should we start with? Down to talk about some DXgov stuff.
I'll start with DXgov. I'm not sure the current status of Augur and Carrot, but maybe want to confirm that we're talking about those currently.
Sure, yeah. So DXgov, as you can see on the products page, it's kind of, I think technically maybe our newest product, or the one that's most recently become a thought for a product. And Carrot maybe just behind it. So DXgov, the new squad's kind of been focusing a bit more recently, and as some of you might have seen actually, the announcement today from Augur on partnerships, kind of providing our governance as well as building out governance 2.0 for ourselves. And so really it's kind of a broad range. It's not just one product. It's currently multiple that we're building out under our kind of governance framework. And it's still very new, but a lot of exciting things happening with external partnerships, as well as just building for ourselves. The sort of perfect governance platform we have in our mind. And if you... Yeah, so the links currently aren't. So as I say, it is new. So we don't even have an updated DX docs page for it yet. I think that's hopefully should be ready for sometime next week. Obviously, it takes some time to write stuff up perfectly, and then we have the additional time for updating the ENS. But yeah, I'd say look out for that. If you'd like to learn more about it, you can head to the DXgov Twitter, which we've kind of just recently launched as well. And we also have some articles that came out last week, just detailing a bit more about what governance looks like and the state of what we're moving forward with DXgov.
Yeah, and I've linked the DXgov Twitter, and there's also a very, very interesting and lengthy article on the state of DXgov and kind of what we're pushing towards that I would highly recommend reading as well. Excellent. As for the other two products, Carrot and Augur, I'm not sure. I believe that you'll hear a lot more on Carrot very, very soon. No promises on any timelines, of course, but expect to start hearing about Carrot and what it is very, very soon. As for Aqua, I believe that's a bit longer in the timeline, but still something that is on our minds. I'm not sure, maybe John, you would be the best to have context to this. I'm not sure if you had any comments.
I think Aqua development has been deprioritized in favor of governance and Swapper. I think also just like the market timing and the intense competition around token auction platforms made it less like attractive at this point, but the intent is to return to it when we have increased like dev capacity and taking care of some of these higher priorities. On the DXGov front, like I think Ross is posting these links here, but it's also worth mentioning that Augur just made an announcement that they are going to sunset their foundation and try to transfer, to a DAO formation. And like I think the plan is to bestow the rest of their funds on that DAO, and they've chosen to use DXdao governance frameworks. So they're starting with the guilds which support ERC20s, and they're planning to make a proposal in the forum to form a larger partnership with DXdao and moving towards governance 2.0, which is this idea of combining both reputation, which is like non-transferable, and ERC20, which is like the transferable financial stake in DAO, combining that into a new concept of voting power. And yeah, we're hoping that this will make it Sybil resistant and also balance labor and capital. And I think it's a very interesting direction that we're hoping will kind of gain traction more widely in crypto.
Excellent. Thank you so much for stepping up here, John. That will break the end of our agenda for the day. We do have a bit of time here, 3 minutes for some open questions. I do not have any left with me today, so if there's anyone that would like to ask anything, please feel free to come step up here or type in the chat. We'll give a couple seconds here, but if not, we can end the call a couple seconds early.
I wonder whether anyone would like to say a word about Augur approaching DXdao and asking for help with decentralization.
I think it is like super validating for the DXdao's approach to governance. And yeah, they approached us kind of like without, on their own, basically. They were discussing how to transfer to a DAO, and they were having conversations saying that, hey, we don't think we could do this with like a multi, or like we think the only like viable way we've seen most organizations do this is with like a multi-sig, but we don't want to do that. We would want this to like be truly governed by the token holders. And like one of the ETH researchers they were talking to at the time was like, hey, well, have you checked out what's going on with DXdao? They seem to be actually operating. And that's how they ended up looking into DXdao and approaching us. And yeah, I mean, I think it's just like great validation. So looking forward to where it goes. And I think it paints a bit of a contrast between like this truly on-chain governance versus like a common pattern we see where organizations have a multi-sig and they're relying on Snapshot, and those are like both kind of centralized choke points in the way they operate. Or there's like kind of another example of overly concentrated token distributions where most of it is in the hands of VCs and the team. And yeah, they do it on chain, but it's effectively like 3 of 5 multi-sig when 40% of the governance power is held by a couple of collaborating VCs. So I think this narrative will get more attention over time. I think it's hard to rise above the noise and the height of a bull market here, but I think we're going to see the issues with ERC20 token governance come kind of to the forefront. I think we're going to see more regulation that's going to bring the attention back to like what is truly decentralized and what's not. And yeah, I mean, I think this is a great start, and I hope it's just one of many partnerships and organizations that kind of see the value of what DXdao is doing.
Yeah, well said. And I think this topic, particularly the Augur potential partnership and utilization of our governance framework, is super, super important and exciting to us. I think next week, provided there's a proposal live on the DXdao forum, would be a great time for the community to kind of recap, go over it. Maybe we could even invite them to come speak. But definitely more on the Augur and DXGov kind of side in the coming weeks here as this ramps up. We do have one more question here in the chat before we finish up. Tom is asking, how does DXdao profit from DXGov?
I was just typing a response to that, but I saw somebody on mute. Go ahead, Russ.
You can take this one if you like. This is one of the more difficult questions.
Right. So the values here are around like open source, and there is no we're not like coming up with any fee model or anything at this point. Like nobody's really discussed that. In my view, like I think just the leadership and visibility that DXdao could get by establishing itself as like an innovator and leader in governance and on-chain governance, I think that can kind of basically pay dividends in so many ways, right? Like just the recognition, the partnerships, and I think there will be, if it's successful, there will be many ways in which like fees can be taken out of the system, or that it gives rise to other products that will also generate fees for the DAO.
Yeah, so it kind of acts as a great like vehicle for us to both get our message across around governance and what's important to us, as well as just like an extra. If they're building off of our platform, it's a lot easier for us to like integrate potentially other products into that. So I think there's a lot of opportunities, but for now we're building it with open source in mind and kind of ultimately for ourselves first, as Keenan says.
Yeah, maybe I'll add something is that I think that governance platforms and DAOs in specific, they should be a public good. And if we create enough network effects around, our governance system, then I think like both John and Ross said many good things that could come from this. But yeah, like the goal is to essentially build a public good around governance.
Excellent. And one more question here from Spicy Soup. Is there going to be much work needed from DXdao contributors to help customize governance framework for Augur, or are they going to do that alone?
And yeah, Augusto and with help of Ross and the rest of the squad have been customizing the guilds in some ways to support Augur. Now, the guild was already been built and worked on with the intent to use it on Swapper and Omen and other DXdao projects. So the customizations was not like a big lift. And in addition to that, Augur has found and is paying for an audit on the guild. So that's really useful for DXdao because there's also plans to use it on Swapper and Omen and stuff. So I would say it's actually like a net positive in terms of development efforts, in addition to all the benefits we're getting from the visibility of the partnership.
Tom asks, the next product we can expect after DXGov is Carrot or Aqua? I think
Carrot.
John. Yeah, Carrot. Expect to hear more on that very, very soon. Keep an eye on these channels. Can't give a specific time, but very, very soon is the time. Excellent, guys. A bit over time here, so we'll wrap it up. Thank you, everyone, for joining the weekly DXdao community call. Tune in again next week where we'll be chatting Augur and some other interesting DXdao things. Thank you again, and obviously big thank you to Rev, who is no longer here. And take care, everyone.
Cheers. Take care all.
Thanks, everyone.